This is the original communicating control. There are many of these still operating out in the field. These controls were obsoleted years ago and are no longer available. If these controls fail, they would have to be replaced with a current model control. This is the damper control motor. They have not changed much over the years, and if you have an existing zone system with original motors and are upgrading the main control, these original damper motors should still work with the current control. One of the major misconceptions about zoning is the number of zones that you can have in a home. In this example, we have a home divided up into 9 zones. Even though with the Infinity Evolution Zone Control you can have 2 control boards and control up to 8 zones, we highly recommend that you do not do this. Homeowners have the idea that a small bathroom can be conditioned by itself, along with small bedrooms that should not be zoned by themselves. But you always need to keep into consideration that if you do have a small zone, it has to be sized for the minimum airflow that the air handler or furnace can deliver. In this same example that we had 9 zones, we have now reconsidered and we're going to divide this home up into 4 zones. One zone will be the main area, the family room, the kitchen, and some of the smaller rooms off of that. Then we're going to zone the study common area, the bathroom, and the bedroom number 4 together. And we're going to have a zone for the master bedroom and the lounge area. And then the 2 bedrooms, number 2 and number 3, will be zoned together. This is a more workable situation for a zoning application. On an Infinity and Evolution zone system, you have to have sensors in each zone. The main control or user interface will be zone 1, and then you have options for the other zones that you have on the system. This is a room sensor without any control, just a thermistor by itself that will sense a temperature in the zone. This is the older style room sensor with occupancy control and temperature control, and this is the current room sensor with the control. Here we see a wiring diagram for the zone damper board, and on the left hand side you see the connections for the damper motors. They are connected by 3 wires, a common wire, a closed, and an open. The damper board sends a signal to the damper motor to open, and it sends a signal to close. On the right hand side we have the zone sensors where they hook in. This is the thermistor only without any control on it. Then you have a connection where you can also attach a ventilator, an HRV or ERV. You also have leaving air and heat pump temperature sensors that can be attached to the zone board. And then you have your ABCD connections for the outdoor unit, indoor unit, and the user interface. You also have to attach the zone controls that have occupancy and temperature control to the ABCD and not the zone sensor connections. So the occupancy controller has to be connected along with the user interface and the outdoor and indoor unit on the ABCD connections. Also notice that you can connect a second zone board. The first zone board will handle 4 zones, and you can connect a second board for another 4 zones. But as we have previously stated, we do not recommend having 8 zones in a system. Again, here's an actual picture of a zone control board. You have your wiring diagram printed on the plastic of the housing for the zone control board that we have already gone across. Your damper motor connections on the left-hand side, your zone sensors on the right-hand side, and your ABCD connections. You have 2 of them which are connected in parallel, And so you can connect outdoor, indoor, user interface, and zone controls to any of these ABCD connectors. Here you see the design guide that is available for the Infinity zoning. There's also one for the Evolution zoning. And please note that the first thing that is mentioned on this design guide is that each constructed zone should support the minimum airflow of the equipment selected. Consult the Infinity System Product Guide to determine the minimum airflow requirements. We mentioned this in the floor plan that we looked at of our 4-zone system. And this is the first thing that is mentioned in the design guide because this is extremely important and it's a point which a lot of installers overlook. So the smallest zone on your system has to be able to support the minimum airflow of the equipment that you have selected. And you can consult the product guide for that equipment to determine what the minimum airflow requirements are, and you must design your ductwork for that zone to handle that minimum airflow requirement. Also note that a network interface module may be required to connect non-communicating outdoor units to your communicating system. So check with the instructions on the NIM module to find out when you would need to apply a NIM module to control a non-communicating outdoor unit when using it with a communicating indoor system. So again, the Infinity system provides the ability to control 2, 4, or 8 zones in a residential or light commercial application. We have stated numerous times in this video that we do not recommend 8 zones. And also, a very important point, which we have stressed before, and we'll stress it again because this is one point with zoning systems that is overlooked over and over again. Each constructed zone should support the minimum airflow of the equipment selected. Consult the Infinity or Evolution System Product Guide to determine the minimum airflow requirements for each zone. We're not going to get into it in this video, but we have done numerous videos before of proper airflow throughout a system. On a zoning system, it is critical that you eliminate all turbulence and recirculation. By installing fittings like this, which direct the air, you reduce the amount of turbulence and recirculation that you may find on a HVAC system. Also note that on our takeoffs, we are using 45-degree angles to direct the air out to the zone. So make sure when you're designing your duct system for a zoning system that you take into consideration fittings such as these to provide the proper and smooth airflow to each zone.
Go to arefco.com for more videos. Like, subscribe, and check back every week for new videos.